For me, the wonderful thing about working in design is that you don't have a preordained answer when you start a project. You sort of start a project with a blank sheet of paper, and I'm always pleasantly surprised at the end we get a great result. My name's Sean Hughes and I'm the head of design for Philips North America. We have a broad team: service designers, UX designers, interior designers, product designers, and we bring those creative teams together to solve the customer problem.
I'm Chelsea Wikmark. I'm the Senior Experience Lead for the North American market, focusing on government and public sector customers and partners out of the Cambridge, Massachusetts office. The thing that gives me most energy is getting out of the studio and actually getting to work with community members and our customers and partners. And specifically with the Atlas project, I got to do this quite regularly over the course of a year. We were able to bring a concept from just a spark of an idea across a lot of different partners to something that was really valuable, installed in the community that veterans are using today.
Atlas really started with a request from the VA to a range of partners in the industry. The VA looked out and said, we'd like to solve the problem of providing care to veterans in rural communities. So the VA challenged the industry and said, can you help us to solve this problem? Can technology help us to bridge that gap between where the veteran lives and where the care currently presides? So the design process was really user-driven. We put the veteran at the center of the process. We went into their communities. We went into the locations that had been earmarked as future places for care delivery. And we engaged in a very open and transparent dialogue around, well, what sort of solutions would work for you?
So the core of our design process with the Atlas project was to really leverage experience prototyping, trying to really understand through role-playing what all of these different touch points could and should look like to meet the needs of the veteran.
139/94.
And it just elevated the dialogue, it opened people up, it got people thinking more creatively about what could be. And then we brought that insight back to the studio with our partners and started to make the design decisions that needed to happen to actually build that future for this community.
As everybody knows, we're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide, and a lot of it's because they don't have access to certain programs, and I think this is certainly going to help those veterans in a very meaningful way.
When they said a mock-up, I'm thinking a little model or something like that. That's impressive. I mean, very realistic.
Sometimes veterans would want to receive care not just on their own, but they bring a partner with them, or they might bring a care animal. We also learned from the clinicians who are on the other side of the camera that actually, having a very neutral colored backdrop was very useful for them to really see the skin tone and the pallor of somebody they're looking at through a camera. And actually having them framed almost life-size was a very key ingredient, so that the virtual encounter that we were designing became as close as possible to a real-life encounter, even though those people could be separated by thousands of miles. Our virtual care station is an 8-foot by 8-foot space that we can retrofit into a current building to provide a secure, acoustically private, visually private space that's also of a medical grade in terms of materials and finishing, so that somebody can now go into this small room, have a video encounter with their care provider who could be hundreds of miles away. And we've also got what we call a tunable lighting environment, so that the veteran can actually create a very relaxed mode or a clinical mode or a few other modes in between, so that they can actually feel in control of the experience and have that space itself be customized to the needs of the clinical encounter. We have ambitions to provide even more technology in those encounters, so we'll be able to do remote monitoring of vital signs, blood pressure, weight, etc., all the other things that go into a medical encounter. The response from the veteran community has been overwhelmingly positive. They've embraced the idea of having telemedicine as a means of accessing care in their community. They love the fact that for a routine checkup they don't have to drive 70 or 80 miles. The fact that they can have this almost on demand with their providers is a real benefit for this community. And it's helped, in fact, in many ways to revitalize the community centre, which the American Legion and the VFW is, so that people have now got another reason to visit those community centres.
Having this built experience that we could tweak and we could play with and we can really role play different scenarios out really enabled us to very quickly come together to build a coalition that has now delivered something very valuable to our rural veterans across the country.
It confirmed my belief, which I've always had, that put the user at the center of the process and magic can happen.